everyone, it's me again. I brought you Asian pulled noodles, and now I'm going to bring you the fancy French dessert, creme brulee, but I'm going to do it for dummies. Everyone always thinks that cooking is challenging. I do not understand this because really you just follow the recipe, measure stuff out, and it all works out in the end usually for me. So I am going to show you how easy creme brulee is because a lot of people think it looks impressive. This recipe actually makes 2 creme brulees, so it's perfect for a date, something like that. And all that's in creme brulee are eggs, vanilla, sugar, salt, and cream. That's it. It's a pretty simple thing. So we're going to start with making the custard, which is kind of the goopy white part of creme brulee. So just take a saucepan, any old saucepan, take some heavy whipping cream. You can get it at your supermarket, and you only need a cup for the whole recipe, so I just buy these little 250 milliliters because I don't drink cream on a regular basis. If you do, then feel free to buy a bigger one and get the cream opened. And so first you're just going to start with a ½ cup. So you just measure it out there. Bam, ½ cup. Nothing too complicated yet. Add it to the pot. Dun, 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 dun. Now you need 2 tablespoons and 1 teaspoon of sugar. So kind of a strange way to write it. It's because it was originally French, went from the metric system, which is a little more accurate. They had to change it to imperial, so that's why you need 2 tablespoons. So that's 2 tablespoons plus 1 teaspoon of sugar. Nothing too complicated yet. And then the last thing we need for this little pot is a pinch of salt. So just literally a little sprinkle of salt. That's the first part of the custard. Now what you need to do is just kind of stir this up. I'm going to take this to the stove. You want to put it on medium. You have low and you have high. Put your dial right in the middle of the 2 of them. That's medium. Keep stirring it, and when it comes to a boil, you know it's done. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so our cream just came to a boil, and as soon as it started seeing the bubbles, I took it off. And now it's just cooling. We're going to be adding the egg yolks to this cream, and we don't want the eggs to cook, so that's why it does need to cool a little bit. And to help that, I've got the rest of my cream right here, so I'm just going to pour that into the pot. So that'll also help cool it down a bit. So we won't need that right away, so we'll just kind of let that cool a little bit. You just want it to be like, you can put your finger in it and it's kind of like warm bathtub. You don't want it to be super hot, but it doesn't have to be room temperature. So the next thing we have to do is separate the eggs from the yolks, or the whites from the yolks in the eggs. So this, some people find scary. It's actually a lot of fun, and there's 2 different methods. So what you need is 2 different bowls and eggs. So you need to decide which bowl the yolks are going into and which bowl the whites are going into. So what you're going to do is take your egg and go to the bowl where the whites are going to go in. And one technique right here is to actually use the shell to help separate the eggs. So what you do is give it a good crack on the side, and you kind of open the egg, and you just want to have the yolk kind of in the shell so that the white is kind of dripping down. And all you're going to do is pass that yolk just from side to side, just back and forth, and the yolk is pretty strong. It won't actually break that easy, and that'll just allow all those nice little whites to drip down into your bowl. And now in your egg cup here, you just have left with the yolk. So you just put the yolk in the other bowl. Pretty simple stuff. The other way to do it is what Anna Olsen always does. She's a Food Network chef, and she actually does it with her hands, so that's another way. So again, crack it open just the same, and rather than keeping it in that shell, you can actually put it in your hand, and then use your hand to just separate it back and forth, and then that's another way to get the yolk separate. So you've got your little yolk here in your hand, you just plop that into the bowl, and since my hands are already dirty, I might as well do it Anna Olsen style. I guess it feels a little more earthy too. You get to feel like you're part of the whole process. There you go. So all you need is 3 egg yolks for this recipe. It's yeah, it's just for 2 people. So if you're making a big one, you actually need a dozen eggs. But we're not. And these whites you actually don't need anymore. So if you're a health freak, go make an egg white omelet or do something like that. Yeah, I will probably throw them down the sink because I am wasteful, but hey, that's what happens. All you need to do now is take a whisk and just whisk these egg yolks together just to break them up a little bit. And now you're going to add your vanilla. I'm using artificial vanilla extract. Yes, if you buy pure vanilla extract, it does taste a little better. But pure vanilla extract is really expensive, and I'm on a student budget, so I am going to use good old artificial. And all you need of this is just a half of a teaspoon. So just unscrew the top there, and measure it out, pour it in, and mix it up. There you go. So now we're going to do what's called tempering the eggs, and it's adding the cream a little bit at a time so that they don't cook at once and they don't get like, holy crap, cream everywhere, and so you can ease it into it. So really just take about a quarter of your cream mixture, so this was the cream that you boiled with the sugar and the salt, and then added the rest of the container. So yep, it's pretty cool now. So I'm just going to add just about a quarter of it in. This does not have to be measured, and just whisk it in there to kind of temper it. Looking very nice and creamy. And then you can just start pouring the rest of the mixture in, like so. Bam! So this is all that's in your custard. Pretty easy stuff, you know, as long as you can measure, bring something to a boil and pour, whisk, and now you've learned that egg separating technique, you are good to go. So your creme brulee mixture is actually ready to go. So while I've been doing this, I've actually been boiling some water, which is now boiling over, so I'm just going to get that. So why I boiled that water is to put in that bain-marie of ours. So again, you've got your little can with your 2 ramekins. Just take some paper towel. The recipe calls for kitchen towel, which is an American way to say tea towel. I am not dirtying my tea towels by putting them in the bottom of the pan, so I'm just going to take some paper towel and just kind of fold it in there. I'm not really sure what the purpose is. Maybe it's to stop them from burning. Not sure, but anyways, there you go. One last thing we need to do, and this is optional, is to strain the mixture. There's not a whole lot of solids floating around in here because you dissolved your sugar in the hot water and everything else is liquid. But anyways, you could skip this stage if you want to. I'm going to, just because, hey, why not? And I just need to go grab my strainer, and I'll be right back. So this little baby is my fine mesh strainer. This is a super handy tool to have, whether you're dusting icing sugar on top of cookies or cakes, if you're draining, like rinsing rice, if you're straining sauces. It's a really good thing to have on hand, so I recommend having one. But like I said, you can skip this. And because I'm going to be pouring it into the ramekins, I'm just going to put it back into this measuring cup to make it easier to pour for myself. So I'm just going to pour it straight in through that little strainer here. Pretty easy. And as I suspected, there really aren't any solids. So, I don't know, just to make it fancy. And now you've got about a cup of liquid. So this should be divided evenly between your 2 ramekins, or if you're making a bigger batch, between however many ramekins you have. So about a half cup in each ramekin. And these are 5-ounce ramekins, so they basically will fill all the way to the top. And I have a little bit left over, so such is life. I can't really do anything with it, so there you go. You got some leftovers for snacking, question mark. Anyways, now we're going to put water into our bain-marie. So I boiled just a bunch of water in my little kettle here, and I'm going to pour it into the pan. Now you're pouring it into the pan, not into the ramekins, so you don't want any water to touch those ramekins. You just pour it in the side, and you want to fill up your pan until about it's about 2/3 of the way up the sides of the ramekins. And this will assist in keeping a nice gentle cooking for your custard, so it'll be nice and soft and beautiful. So for me, that took a whole liter of water. So I preheated my oven already to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. The oven rack is on the middle to lower rack, and all I'm going to do is put these in the oven. Now, the thing with creme brulee is it can be a little temperamental, so you want to keep checking it. But about 25 to 35 minutes. It's really until the center has stopped jiggling. So we will put it in and keep an eye on them. So throw those in the oven, and I'll be back soon. Hey, so my creme brulees are done. Well, they're done out of the oven. So they cooked. Mine took about 32 minutes to get up to the proper temperature, but I just want to show you up close what they kind of look like. Oh, this isn't going to work. There we go. So they're still a little jiggly, and you can press the top, and it like is kind of like solid. So they've got a little bit of a jiggle to them. So that's kind of what you're looking for. So semi-solid, semi-jiggly. For me, it took 32 minutes, and I lied to you. So before you can actually put them in the fridge, you actually have to cool them to room temperature. So you have to leave them out for about 2 hours, and then you have to put them in the fridge. So the fridge needs to be minimum 4 hours, but it can stay up to 4 days. So if you're making this ahead of time, it's a great thing to do. So now I'm going to let them cool. Once they're cool to room temperature after 2 hours, put some plastic wrap on them, throw them in the fridge for 4 hours, and then we can sprinkle the sugar and make it all happen. So that's what I got for you now. So I'll see you in about 6 hours.